Hello and welcome back to Build Mode. I'm your host, Isabelle Johannessen, and today we have two conversations for you that explore two very different co-founder relationships. One of the most common reasons that startups fail is co-founder falling out. And with that kind of high-stakes pressure, founders really have to prioritize conflict resolution and mission alignment so that when the inevitable problems come up, they can handle it without the extra drama. So to start, I'm speaking with married co-founders Hala, Jalwan, and Alessio Tresanti, co-founders of Rivio, a company that makes AI agents for the supply chain, focusing on procurement for the manufacturing space. They brought on a third co-founder who, as they discuss, can often act as the tiebreaker when disagreements come up. And later in the episode, I'm talking to one of the co-founders of Nowadays, a startup founded by sisters Anna and Amy Sun. Both conversations have great takeaways for any founder or really anyone trying to build healthy co-working habits. But first, I want to remind all the Build Mode listeners that applications for the Startup Battlefield are now open. So if you're building an early stage company or have an MVP, apply for the program at techcrunch.com/apply. If you want to take these conversations beyond the podcast, then come join us in person at a TechCrunch event. October 13 to 15 in San Francisco, we're back for TechCrunch Disrupt, where the Startup Battlefield 200 takes the stage. So if you want to cheer them on or just network with thousands of founders and VCs and tech enthusiasts, then grab your tickets at techcrunch.com/events and use code BuildMode15 for 15% off any ticket type. And that discount is exclusively for you Build Mode listeners, and we'd love to see you there. That's enough from me. Let's get into my conversation with Hala and Alessio, co-founders of Rivio. Hi Hala, hi Alessio. Welcome to Build Mode. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you guys. I know we've known each other for a while, but it's fun to kind of be in the studio and actually talk about business for a change. But let's start if you guys can introduce yourselves and tell me what Rivio does.
I can go first. Hey everyone, I'm Hala. I'm the CEO of Rivio. Very briefly about Rivio, what we do is we help procurement teams and tech companies such as like Brex or Checker negotiate their contract faster and better.
Yeah, and on my side, CEO, co-founder of Hala, and husband of Hala. So, well, little bit of me. I'm Italian, but I've been here in the Bay Area for about 8 years now. Always worked around procurement, so it's kind of always wanted to start a business, and here we are. So
Great. And I mean, I sort of know this story, but for our listeners, let's take a step back. So what came first, the chicken or the egg, when it comes to your relationship in the marriage and Rivio? I mean, I was at your wedding and it was absolutely beautiful, but I honestly can't quite remember when you decided to get married and when we heard that news versus when we heard that you were starting a company.
yeah, well, we always been very entrepreneurial, both of us. Also, in terms of we are two community builders. Let's put it this way. On my side, for example, a simple concert between friends turned out in a huge 5,000 people festival, which is, that's how we always build up on. Oh, let's start small, and then something just explodes and gets out of hand. But so we all had our separate paths in terms of Ala was working on her own being an entrepreneur, and I was working on mine, and when we met, just the things very clicked naturally.
So it ended up like at the beginning, like going back to our question, I would say things came at the same time where when we met, I would say already like 7, 8 years ago, we started to do like small projects together. So it wasn't the startup, but we started, let's say, like we wanted to organize a small dinner with friends. We end up booking the whole restaurant and making it 100 people. Or we wanted to do like a road trip on a motorcycle for a week. It ended up a 3 month road trip across the countries. So every time those projects became bigger and bigger, and at the end we wanted to work on a particular idea, and then it kind of came at the same time where we were starting to brainstorm on ideas and organizing the wedding in parallel.
But I think that's also the hallmark of a good relationship is being able to work together, even when you're not starting a company, but right,
Yeah.
things like that, like family vacations and renovating the house, whatever it may be. And then you just took it to the next level with this company. But I'm curious, what sort of key factors that maybe you debated or that you discussed before actually deciding to start this company? Did you have any, like, okay, this is the worst case scenario. Do we still want to do this?
Yeah, I think what you're looking for in your co-founder is really trust. So this is something that obviously with your partner, with your life partner, but business partner is very strong. So I trust Hala in everything that she does. Also related to her experience in procurement specifically, she's been working in procurement for more than 10 years, in AI for more than 10 years. So maybe myself on my side, I've been obviously doing sales for Oracle. I was selling procurement tools. So this was also now a matter of, okay, we both trust each other expertise. And I think when it comes to your co-founder, you need to, this is the word that comes to mind first.
So at the beginning, we both wanted to do something, and then we were looking also at our experiences, and it was also very compatible. Like on my side, I've been a product lead for the last 10 years. And now it was kind of interesting that we were both in the procurement and AI space in different lands. So I was doing procurement at Facebook, where I was building internal procurement tools in the company. And then I was working in AI for 8 years between Google and Apple Intelligence. And on Alessio's side, he was working on procurement at Oracle. And then he was selling AI solution, or he was more on the innovation team for larger company. So on the focus, it was very aligned, but I still had the question in terms of, is it even worth doing this together? Like, are we putting at risk like other things that are going very well in our lives? And on my side, I thought a lot about it, and it took us almost 2 years of testing out, starting to work together on small project up until things evolved naturally for us to officially leave our job and start the company together.
Yeah. Yeah, that must have been an exciting moment when you could finally like pull that trigger.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, so I mean, most co-founders, whether they're 2 or 3 or more, spread the personal risk among different households. But with you guys, I mean, all of the risk of starting the company is within your family, your household. How do you see that, and how do you manage that?
I would say it's aligned with our personality. We're very risk takers in everything that we're doing. So, like when we're going to do the startup, we're going all in. And it kind of puts even more, I would say, energy to wanting to be successful in the startup. So like the way we look at it, it's a big project. We're both optimists. We are both hungry to be successful. So it's on my side, it's almost more positive because it's dividing the stress. The CEO role is usually a very lonely role, and a lot of time you can see that you feel bad spending time working because you're not spending time with your partner. And on our side, it's different. Like we are excited to work because we're always working on our separate lane, but together. Like I don't feel bad spending a lot of time working, even if it's on the weekend.
That leads me to my next question, though, is sort of how do you separate church and state, right? Is there like rules or boundaries that you guys have that, okay, this is, we cannot talk about work at once we're in the house, or, we don't talk about our relationship in the office, or how do you navigate that?
So when it comes to startup, it's super, super important to keep iterating on your journey and your journey towards product market fit, or how to bring the company to the next stage, which for us is great because there is no division between church and state, so we can keep making progresses every day, every minute. Obviously, there are some cons that comes with it, and there are some breaking point, but we haven't hit this breaking point yet. So I think so far has been more an advantage, as Hala was saying, than a disadvantage.
Yeah. Like at the end, what you want in your co-founder is, who's this person I can always go to brainstorm or to throw ideas or to talk about something specific. And the speed and trust for me is very important, especially at the early stage of the company. So at this point, like it's been 2 years already, and we're constantly in this like iteration. So it could be anywhere. It could be on a Sunday morning or on a Saturday night at the bar, but we're going to constantly discuss about it. I would say the separation is more at work, where we all have our own lane, Alessio is leading all the sales, I'm leading all of product. And this is where we're able to lead two big streams but still stay connected.
Right. Yes. Because I imagine, yeah, you don't want to bring too much of the relationship into the workplace and kind of, because you have a third co-founder,
Yeah.
right? So, and maybe
So
tell me a little bit about him and how he kind of navigates between the two of you and helps you.
Yeah, our third co-founder, Leo, is the CTO. Is great because honestly, it fits perfectly into this relationship. It's obviously a three co-founder relationship. He's also the one that brings sanity to the conversation. So it's kind of crucial for us to have someone in the team that can also draw the line, sometimes. So it works very well. I will say that super relevant for us is being able, as Hala said, to each of us have their own area of expertise and their own area of the organization. And now that the team is growing, for example, now we're getting to 15 people now. We are growing. We are hiring a bunch more people this year. It's great because I have my own department, she has her own department, but at the same time we're super aligned and the company advance at the same on the same front. So
Wow, that's a lot of team growth since the last time I saw you. Congrats.
Yeah.
That's super exciting. I guess that leads me to my question that, you have to take a break at some point. And I mean, it sounds like you guys have been going pretty full steam ahead for 2 years. Have you taken any vacations up until this point? And if so, I mean, how do you do that? Because I imagine you would like to travel together, but then who is running the company? Leo, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, and we build a very strong team. They're pretty much very independent. I would say there's a good balance between junior and senior. To answer your question, we did take vacations and interesting things happen, very funny stories. I will let Hala tell more about. Maybe it's a great way to introduce our product and and what happened.
Yeah. So actually, so we were saying, so like what our product does, so we help procurement team on the sourcing side of their job, so on the negotiation, on the sourcing, and we built Sheldon, if anyone is a fan of the Big Bang Theory.
Me.
So Sheldon, our agent, has the same personality of Sheldon in terms of wanting to be data-driven, wanting to be always right, fact-checking everything that he's saying. And it's kind of core to what we do because we help procurement come with like pricing benchmarks that are vetted, negotiation playbooks, and it's all embedded into their workflows. So if you want to think about it, when you hire Sheldon into your team, it becomes part of the procurement team and is able to expand their work. So the fun story is Sheldon at the end will really act on the side of the company, on the side of the buyer, and making sure they always get a better deal compared to the seller. So when you were on vacation, so the company was talking about Rivio, and Sheldon decided that okay, I should probably fire myself. And this was fun because you can start to see that the agent is really optimizing for the benefit of the company. But this for us like makes us understand that like with AI you are able to build different use cases and then see them grow as you scale.
Wait, that is hilarious. So you're sitting on a beach somewhere, probably on vacation, trying to relax, and you get a notification that Sheldon has fired himself. He has resigned. Your AI has taken a vacation himself. What did you do? How did you handle that?
So the lesson learned is never go on vacation. Because this is the first and most important lesson. But what have we done? Yeah, no. Luckily, I mean, our engineering team was on it. But again, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of a funny story.
Yeah. And I mean, before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about family businesses, right? And I guess when I picture a family business, I picture, like an 100-year-old Italian company. It worked like after many generations are working for this, more maybe industrial or manufacturing or something like that. I'm curious how you see this as a family business and how you intend to grow it and kind of embed it in the rest of your lives and even maybe your existing family's lives.
Yeah, I think that the word family business doesn't go very well with the VC industry or with the startup world, but it's very common outside of the startup world. I mean, more than 80% of small and medium businesses in the world are family businesses. There are also very successful examples of founders that were married couples in the startup scene, Carta or YC,
Look, Canvas.
Canva.
Yeah.
This is where it gets, how do we see it? I think at a certain point the company will grow to a stage where hopefully we won't be, it won't be a family business anymore. And it's not anymore, to be fair, already, because with the team that we grew, everybody could take over and grow the business. So.
But I mean, on the note that family business isn't very VC friendly, I'm curious, when you did raise that pre-seed round, how did investors react to the fact that you were married? Was that a pro, a con, or was it even a point of discussion?
Yeah. I can take that one since I went through all the interviews. It was very interesting because it's a question I asked myself. I was thinking initially, like, not everyone will be okay, so I'm gonna go with the investor that actually understand the decision that we made and see it as a plus, as opposed to will be scared of that fact. But interestingly enough, it never came up as a negative point. So I was very surprised. Like, actually, some investor were telling me, "Oh, like, I see they were a married couple," or Canva, they were together. So it has been interesting to see that dynamic. Our investors are great. So we raised from Gradient Venture. So Darren is the managing partner. He's been great. Section 32, Aisha is great. So if anyone, I always recommend those investors because they have been very supportive. And overall, like, what investors care about is, do you have a $1 billion idea? Like, is your idea big enough, and are you the best person on the planet to solve that idea? And as long as those two answers are yes, then all the rest is trust that they have, especially at the early stage, trust that they have in the founder to make the right decision throughout the course of the company.
Yeah.
And most of the conversation were about actually my experience, like, what is your experience in AI? And having come from working on Siri, having worked on AI for 8 years and procurement, it was like a perfect fit of the work. And then looking at the team, Leo and Alessio have worked also in procurement in their own way. Like, Leo, our CTO, was working in procurement at Amazon on the machine learning part of invoice reconciliation. Alessio was in procurement. So the whole team made sense, but it never came up as a negative point. And this is where, like, I think for other founders that are thinking about, is it okay if my co-founder, I don't know, is my brother or sister or my spouse? And the decision is, as long as it's the person that you will always pick because you think you have complementary skills, you should go for it, and you will always find investor that will invest in you if you have a good idea and you're the right person for the idea. So the founder idea fit is more important than the rest.
That's, very good point. 'Cause I think there are, I've seen this in the world of startups where they're, co-founders are by situation. So we just happen to be brothers and now we're co-founders, even if maybe their backgrounds aren't aligned or we happen to be married. So it's easier to build a business together, that sort of mentality. But as you said earlier, like, you guys are really two heads of the same body, right? Like, you operate in tandem a lot of the time and are always in sync, which I think from a VC perspective would be a massive plus, right?
Yeah.
That, there's, shouldn't be any miscommunication because you have, perfected your your 24/7 communication channel. I've heard a lot of VCs actually say that they would prefer to have a married couple over people who are just dating, for example, because you are legally bound in more ways than one.
Like, at the end, it always come back to picking your co-founder is like a marriage, and they mean it they don't mean it literally, but if you look at exactly what it entails, it is really like a marriage in the sense that you need to trust the other person. You need to be able to have very clear channel of communication. So for us, we are very direct people and very honest. So we constantly have hard conversation without sandwiching it good news, bad news, good news. It's just like whatever we have as feedback. So it's making the whole cycle faster, actually.
Yeah. Especially in the early stage, there are tough decisions to be made. There are hard pivots, or for example, you need to decide where to focus your time. And sometimes where you focus your time can put you 6 months ahead of your competitors or the other startups that are trying to achieve the same goal. So these are really decisions that needs to be made every day in the life of a early stage startup. And so far has been working out very well because we think alike. So I guess adding the third co-founder Leo with a different perspective also helps a lot. So I think this is the lesson that I would say to anybody starting a company is try to be aligned on the set of values that leads to decision making, because you will have to make a lot of decisions and very fast. So I think the values that you pick in the person, or the values of the person that you pick, are what really matters.
Yeah, so we were talking about some of the advantages and maybe even disadvantages of being married and being co-founders. I've also heard people say that, finding your co-founder is more important maybe even than finding your romantic partner because, you're maybe might raise children together one day, but your child at the moment is worth potentially billions of dollars in the future. That's a very important child that you need to put a lot of thought and effort into. Sheldon,
We really care about him.
Sheldon's unique, very unique. So I'm curious, what do you think are sort of the biggest advantages and disadvantages if we were going to compare?
Yeah, so well, obviously advantages is, as I said, no, speed and trust. So this is obviously you can quickly iterate, keep working on the same topic for longer than anybody else. Again, when you said about the child, no, it's really the product. It's that's so we put a lot of love into the product in terms of as not because we are a couple, but because it's there is respecting the company. Everybody respect each other's time and wants to succeed because they see that the people in the team are the best people. So I think this is where everybody is driven and everybody wants to succeed because they see next to each other people that they love. So this is, I think, it's
It takes a village to raise Sheldon.
Exactly. Like we have a very high bar for ourselves, so we have the same high bar for the team. And the team has also like the same quality bar that you expect from what we're building. Disadvantage, I don't know. We spend 24/7 together, so there are moments where we will look at each other and see how not to spend time together to disconnect. And usually this is mostly on either like during work hour where we no, actually we always go to the office. So well, maybe mostly on weekends.
yeah. There are moments in which obviously you wanna disconnect and talk about something else, but
Yeah.
because we are both into it, it's easy to go back and talk about work. That's very it's the most natural topic of conversation to go into. So you have to force a little bit yourself to think, okay, what else can we add to the relationship? No, so it's I think it's this is the disadvantage.
No, that makes sense. So tell me, what is sort of the best advice you've ever gotten when it comes to how you should build your team and how you're approaching expanding your team now to 15 and beyond?
I would say like for us, hiring is like one of the key aspects of why we are successful. And we spend a lot of time, like the hire slow, fire fast mindset. We spend a lot of time thinking about who are the right people to bring into the company. And in an early stage startup, a lot of it has to do with who is that person. Is it a person that is curious to learn? Are they hungry to deliver? And then the plus is, okay, have they worked with AI before? So most of our early founder have been working in AI, but a lot of them are coming in to learn.
Yeah, this is obviously for people that wants to experience AI. We are one of the best companies out there because you can really apply everything into a product that is used by top tech companies in the Bay Area. So it's very important to keep reminding ourselves that we're doing something very unique. And we own this knowledge, so we can teach it to people that we hire in our team. So what's really what I usually look into someone that I'm hiring is more the mindset and how it fits into the team rather than the hard skills. Because especially today, if you are curious, you can learn a lot very quickly. So that's so the best. To close your question, the best advice was given to me by, we were at a wedding in Lebanon, and obviously, a party, we were having fun, people drinking and so on. And I randomly happened to sit next to a very famous entrepreneur, which I was chatting with. So I asked him the question, what's the best advice you can give me? And the answer was, look, hire only who you think is a yes, I want it in my team. There is no maybe, there is no this person could grow. Just hire who you feel like it's a yes that everybody would agree with. So I think that when we apply to hiring, that's how we think about it.
I feel like that's the same, advice people give when you're dating and when you're trying to find a relationship. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah, exactly. Because I also think that the future of teams are small and more generalist in terms of, at the end of the day, right now, each person for us in a non-AI world would have been the equivalent of 3 hires. And I see this number not exponentially growing, but every year we're seeing the capacity of each person growing. So it really matters who are you bringing in? Are they adding to the culture? Are they able to grow later on into their own leader in that space? And we spend a lot of time thinking about hiring.
We'll leave my conversation with Hala and Alessio there. Rivio is a rapidly growing company, and as Hala just said, they're thinking very carefully about who they're bringing into their expanding family business. For the second half of this episode, I spoke to someone who has a completely different dynamic with her co-founder. Amy and Anna Sun are sisters who are building Nowadays, an AI co-pilot for corporate event planning. They've built a team of friends and former coworkers who are not only helping them build an amazing product, but also a company culture based in genuine connection and community, which is a true asset for their events-based product. I spoke with Anna about how they structured the team and navigated running a company as siblings.
I'm Anna, CEO and co-founder of Nowadays. I started the company with my sister Amy in summer 2023. And Nowadays is the AI co-pilot for corporate event planning. So, for example, our AI can contact venues by email and phone to get availability, handle the back and forth negotiations, and present the best options.
Okay, cool. And summer 2023 is also when you did Y Combinator. So how did you officially decide to start the company? What came first, chicken or egg?
It's pretty crazy. So I was a senior at MIT. I had been hacking on ideas myself, and then I visited Amy during spring break. So she's 8 years older than I am, and I was just bouncing ideas off with her. And we realized that we had a lot of similar things that we were interested in. And she was also getting close to 3 years at Google. And so thought it might be a good time for her to change. And so that's when we started hacking on ideas. And then we applied to YC on a whim. And then we got our acceptance the day before I graduated from MIT. So it was very much a whirlwind. And then we flew to San Francisco right after graduation and started the company there.
Wow, that's crazy. So I mean, 8 years apart, that's a big age gap. I have a sister who's 10 years older, but I can relate to the fact that, I mean, you're in very different stages of life. I'm recently graduated or just about to graduate and, 3 years into her career. So I imagine it must have been pretty different decisions for the two of you to jump in on this, right? To leave
Oh,
your
yeah.
cushy tech job versus like straight out of college. It's also very risky to not have much work experience and go straight into founding.
Yeah, for me, for some reason, it didn't feel risky at all because I didn't have anything I was leaving. So I had something I was going to go to, but because I hadn't started yet, it didn't feel like too big of a jump. But for Amy, it was different because she had been in big tech and consulting for 8 years already. And it's nice to have that like more cushy lifestyle. And she was using basically her jobs to help pay for like any outside life activities. And so it was the first time where she decided that I'm going to focus like all my time and efforts on work, and also leave a lot of benefits that the corporate life has. So our parents definitely had a lot to say the day before graduation. And it was nice that we were all in person to make that decision.
So what kind of things did they say? Because I mean, of course, on this episode, we wanted, get a little bit deeper into the sibling co-founder relationship, but it really isn't just the siblings. This is now a family business.
For sure. My parents actually at graduation were telling everyone that my daughters are unemployed. I don't know what they're doing. They're leaving their jobs. And I think they've never really seen other people doing startups before, but it helped at least that YC gave some funding. And so it felt like, okay, maybe they are getting paid for what they're doing. That helped. And I think throughout the journey, our parents have been super supportive from then on. And really excited to travel with us when we have work trips too.
That's fun. My mom likes to do that too. But I mean, yes, coming straight into Y Combinator is pretty much like the most epic stamp of approval. It's pretty much the equivalent of graduating college and going to work at Google, right? That in startup terms.
Yeah, I think so. They just didn't really know that. So I think for them, the like Google is like the dream job, and so they just didn't understand why are you leaving that.
Yeah, I can understand that parents would be skeptical of that. And so I guess that leads me to my next chunk of questions. I'm really curious to know how you and Amy work together. Sort of how do you separate church and state? How do you keep your sister relationship and your co-founder relationship separate?
I think the best thing about our relationship is that we don't have to keep it separate and we're willing to intertwine it all. And it also helps because we're sisters that we trust each other so much that I remember like even previously when I would like start ideas with friends, you always feel like, oh, I don't want to step on the other person's toes or like I don't know if this feedback is too direct. But because we grew up in the same household, we have a lot of the same values. And we're very direct to each other. We don't want to waste time. And so that helps a lot. We split everything 50-50. It was really easy for us to just split roles and decide on that because it wasn't about like our ego. It was more just like what fit the best for the company.
And so now you work remotely. I mean, Amy lives far away, right in Seattle, you said. So how do you have a larger team? Sort of how do you structure your team if it's remote?
Yeah. So currently we have a team of 8. So Amy is the only one who works remote in Seattle, and then the rest of us work in San Francisco from our office that we just moved into 3 days ago. So it is definitely an interesting working style since I think typically people are either all in person or all remote, but it works really well for us because Amy's mostly doing sales. She's in calls all day. So when she comes to visit, she's mostly in the booth anyways. But she's super close by since she's in Seattle. So she comes once a month for about a week. And then we also have quarterly team offsites. And so it actually helps us take the time to see a broader, like, how are we doing this past month and reflect rather than always being in like build mode. Because I think during YC, Amy and I would just like be sitting next to each other all day working and not think about the reflection of like how have we been doing, what can we change, but there's those built-in checkpoints now when we see each other in person.
I love that. Sometimes it's important to get out of build mode. What do your team members think about having sisters at the helm of the company?
I think they well I should ask them, but I think generally they enjoy it because we I think the differences of working at a team with sisters versus not is we are very direct to each other. So we iterate really fast. We're honest, give feedback really openly, but also because we grew up together, we're also like pretty silly a lot of the times when we're next to each other or like we'll make jokes. And it kind of lightens the mood sometimes when we're having like a tougher conversation as a group. And we understand each other. So we're not like the types of co-founders I've heard from other friends at startups where like they're kind of like yelling at each other to make decisions. It's just like very cordial, and all of our team members have siblings right now too, so they understand what that dynamic is like.
Good. I mean, that sounds very healthy. But what happens when you do disagree? Do you have any sort of like frameworks or ways that you get through disagreement with your sister?
One thing that was super beneficial early on that we did was co-founder coaching. So because we have this unique dynamic, probably like 3 or 6 months after the batch, we saw that there was a Torch, which is a YC company, offered co-founder coaching, and we tried it out. Our coach Laura helped us build out a lot of the framework of here are all the things that you should think about when you're like having this conversation. Why is that other person like in disagreement? Let's listen to each other first. And also because you're sisters, like let's separate like, hey, this is time to like listen as a sister versus as a co-founder. And that helps us a lot more because I think early on too, like I remember one time Amy came home from a wedding, and so she was out of office for like a day, and it was a really stressful day because we just had launched something and there were a bunch of bugs. And so I could have either reacted as like a sister or a co-founder, and so being able to like understand that and being able to make those decisions more clearly and prioritizing the relationship has helped a lot.
Wow, yeah, that seems like a very great framework. And I think for any relationship, co-founder or otherwise, that's a good one to know what hat you're wearing in that any given moment. I'm curious how you sort of, I mean, you're mentioning Amy went to a wedding, but how you end up taking breaks. Do you go on vacations together? Do you kind of say, I need some time off? And how do you handle work-life balance?
Yeah, so we do take time off separately sometimes. So like if we're going on vacation with our partner or visiting like their family, we also do vacations together. So I remember early on we went to Spain with our parents. And it's interesting because we have the mix of work and fun. Because we'll go on tours with our parents and then when we get home we'll start working. And that's kind of nice that even though we're on vacation, we can still move the company forward. And it helps that we can do that in untraditional ways. So most recently I went to Seattle and my mom was there too. And so she was shopping in the grocery store. And so my sister and I just walked around for 2 hours while we were waiting and just like talked about high level strategy for 2026, which is really fun. So I think it's nice that we don't have to do things so formally like set meeting times.
Anytime, anywhere. That's great. I'm curious, so you guys raised a $2 million seed round or 2024, right before Battlefield, right? Did you like what sort of reaction from VCs did you encounter when they realized you guys were siblings?
I think it was very mixed opinions. I think they would ask weird questions like, "Oh, like why are you CEO and she's COO if there's like if she's the older sister or something like that?" I actually got that like probably 10 times. I think a lot of the ones that ended up investing are the ones that realized like, "Hey, we know that you're sisters and like this is a really strong bond and you seem like you can figure out anything together." Versus like there's a lot of co-founders now that meet like very recently on like a co-founder matching platform and it feels like they haven't built up that trust yet.
To wrap up, I want to kind of go on a little speed round of advice for founders who might be listening. So, what is the best piece of advice on team building that you've ever received?
Yeah, I think we were super intentional about our hiring. So, we have the funding to hire like 10 more people right now. But we try to hire like one by one and make sure that it's a really good fit with the current team and that everyone works well together because we've heard a lot of teams say that they scaled from 5 people to 50 and then there wasn't a culture because everyone was new at the same time. And also just continuing to raise the bar. And so making sure that each new person that we hire brings in something new to the team and that we feel like we can learn from them. We would be happy working under them and that type of thing that we really trust that person to make big decisions.
Obviously, we're talking about sibling co-founders on this episode, but for founders out there who are maybe looking for another co-founder or, just trying to figure out their co-founder relationship, what do you think they can learn from sibling co-founders?
I mean, I think YC always says it too, but your co-founder is basically like you're married to them and imagine you're going to marry them and spend time with them for 10 years. Like you're spending more time with your co-founder than your partner, most likely. So I think being able to spend a lot of time with them up front if you don't know them already and see if you can make decisions easily and quickly together. I feel like also like having complementary skill sets helps a lot because then there's no need to like step on each other's toes. Like Amy and I are working on very separate things a lot of the times, but then on like high level strategical things, when we disagree, we can easily be upfront on like why. And it makes the decision process a lot faster. But I've seen like early stage founders that have like not even incorporated yet and they're deciding on the equity split and like they can't even decide who's CEO and so they end up being co-CEOs and then it's like oh who gets like the one more share of equity and if that's the hardest problem in your company it feels like that probably isn't a good match.
Big time. I think that's a pretty big red flag. I also think it might be, that specific situation could be easier as siblings because I mean it is all kind of coming to the family pot in the end versus I'm sure this is where we need the co-founder coaches and co-founder therapists. I think that's fantastic that you went down that path because that really is one of the biggest reasons early startups fail.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend co-founder coaching to everyone because how we thought about it was like even if we don't have problems now, like pro athletes are still getting coaching. And so there's always things we can improve and so it's better to invest early.
As Anna said, it's a good idea for every co-founder pair to seek coaching or therapy, and next week I'm talking with Ian Schmidt from Trimergence, which is a consulting agency that helps co-founders learn how to navigate conflict and work together in the best way possible. so be sure to subscribe to Build Mode so you don't miss that conversation. Build Mode is a TechCrunch podcast. Each episode is produced and edited by Maggie Nye and hosted by me, Isabelle Johannessen. Our art and design is also by Maggie Nye. A big thanks to Morgan Little, who leads our audience development, the Foundry and Cheddar video teams, and most of all to you, the builders, and everyone else in the wider startup community. We'll see you back here next time.